This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. All right, so some news broke late at night, or at least I got wind of it late at night. Some of it has to do with the Senior Bowl, which I actually think is pretty good news. And the other part of it is this whole thing with the city trying to sue the Browns. Let's talk about the city suing the Browns here a little bit. Look, I don't think there are any good guys in this story. I don't think the Haslams are the good guys in this story. I don't think the city are the good guys in this story. This is a debate over money. This is a fight over funds. That's what this is, right? In my opinion, right? The city wants to have the Browns, if they move to Brook Park, they leave it here with something, basically. That's what the city is saying. If you're going to leave, which it looks like the Browns are 100% going to leave, and look, the city is posturing like this is about keeping the Browns downtown, but they know the Browns are leaving, but they want to leave here with something. If they're not going to have the Browns downtown, they trying to leave here with something. That's what this is about, right? The Browns, they not trying to leave them with nothing when they go to Brook Park. They just trying to go, bounce once they lease is up, move over to the new place, build that, roll with that. And here's how I view it. I do think that the Browns should build a dome and move to that dome and play in that dome. And if that dome has to be in Brook Park, it's not the worst thing in the world to me. Is it more inconvenient? Are the vibes off? Is the aura a little bit worse because you're not on the lake? Does it feel a little bit different? Sure, that will be the case, but you need a new stadium, right? And you're not going to be able to build a stadium where the airport is because they don't want to tear down the airport for whatever reason. So this is the best option that you got, is building a stadium near Brook Park. At the Browns in the city, we're dedicated to keeping this team in downtown Cleveland, both as a group. They should have worked harder together to do something about the airport so that the Browns could build a stadium without having to move to a different location, because that's what's required right now if the Browns want to stay on the lakefront. So the Browns are going to Brook Park. That part is happening. They bought the land. They have the plans. They've announced what the stadium's going to look like. They have contracts in place. This is getting built. Like, it's like 90% chance this gets built. The city is enacting the Modell law. They're suing the Browns. And the reason I think they're doing this is because they're trying to get some kind of settlement. Because they need or want some money to be able to develop the lakefront. They've been trying to do the lakefront project. I think it's a good thing, right? You look at Chicago's lakefront, and I don't know if you guys ever been to Chicago, but Chicago has a fully developed and built lovely lakefront. You could walk up and down. You could go all the way from Wrigley, walk, bike, and you can end up at Soldier Field in Chicago, which is like you can go north to south side. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a wonderful thing. The city of Cleveland should have some version of that, right? They should have some version of a lake walk. They should have some version of a boardwalk, some kind of, like, we don't use the land near the lake that well in Cleveland. It's always been a thing. We all know about it. You ever grew up in Cleveland, you know that's a thing. I speak of this as somebody who grew up and is from Cleveland. So, yeah. I think the city should do something with the lakefront. I like the project that they've been trying to do with the lakefront. And if the Browns want to leave downtown Cleveland, I have absolutely no problem with the city doing what they need to do to make the Browns chip in on that project, right? They got to clean up their mess, right? They got to pay for the demolition of the stadium, and then they got to help develop that area of the lakefront. I think that's all fair. You want to move the team to Brook Park, cool, but go ahead, do that. It doesn't feel like the Browns wanted to follow through on that kind of deal. I remember when this whole thing broke down and the Browns were announcing this move to Brook Park, I thought that it would be a good gesture for Jimmy Haslam, if he cared about his reputation in the community, to do something like that. Because, like, say what you want about a guy like Dan Gilbert, and there's a lot to say about a dude like Dan Gilbert. If Dan Gilbert were announcing that he was moving the Cavs back to Richfield to play, he would do something with the land there, where the stadium is, to at least give you something on the way out. It seems like the Haslams just trying to cut and run. They're trying to go build their palace at Brook Park and bounce. And the city doesn't like that, so they're trying to get money to build the lakefront. I don't really have a strong emotional feeling about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just want to see how this plays out, because I don't think there's gonna be like a big repercussion of like the Browns leaving Cleveland because of this. If that happens, that would be tragic, but I don't think that that's where this is going. I don't think the NFL would allow the Browns to leave Cleveland again when there's no reason for them to leave Cleveland. Given that all the grief they went through when they left left the city the first time. So I don't think the NFL is trying to go through that again. I think this is just the city trying to leave here with something. They're trying to get something built downtown. They want to have some extra money to do so. And, I don't mind that. Like, is what it is, right? Jimmy would use the same tactic, or is about to use the same tactic to the whole county to try to get this stadium built, right? We could talk about the city strong-arming Jimmy and how that's not cool and that's this or that. I don't really care. All of this stuff is kind of backhanded, backroom politics type stuff. Like the Browns are going to try to work the county into paying for that stadium. Well, at least the Haslams are going to try to work the county into paying for that stadium. So the city, they're just playing the game. They're trying to work the Browns into paying for the lakefront, the same way the Browns trying to work us into paying for that dome. There's no good guys in this story. There's just no good guys in this story. I think that's the most important part. The city's trying to get the lakefront built. They trying to make the Haslams pay a piece of that. The Browns are trying to go to Brook Park, and they ain't trying to pay for anything they about to leave behind. We'll see how this battle goes. Look, the Browns going to play in Brook Park whenever that stadium is built and whenever the lease is up in Cleveland Brown Stadium. And we could talk about it being a messy divorce with how the city has handled it, but this ain't going to matter once they built the stadium, once they get whatever's done. Mayor's going to change, or, the people in charge change, and sometimes people who are in charge, their opinions change over time. None of this stuff is permanent. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about this. This is just the city and the team fighting over money. That's all it is. And it's not the type of fighting over money that led to the Browns moving to Baltimore, so I wouldn't have any concern there. Other news dropped about the Senior Bowl, and look, I'm excited about this batch of All-Star games, especially the Senior Bowl. If you don't know, I will be in Mobile to give you coverage of the Senior Bowl. Get my eyes down there. I'm going to have a lot of collabs, going to also have a lot of coverage there. So make sure you're locked in, subscribe, notified, so you can have the best Browns Senior Bowl coverage you can get. We're going to have film breakdowns. We're going to have tape from the Mobile, all kind of stuff here. Keep your eyes locked in for all of this. All right. So news about the Senior Bowl. The Giants offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, and Bubba Ventrone have been named head coaches to the Senior Bowl. I've seen a lot of reaction to this, and the reaction to this tells me one thing. I don't think people know that the Senior Bowl changed formats a few years ago. So here's how the coaches are decided for the Senior Bowl. It used to be that whoever had the top two picks would get the first two stabs at being the coaching staffs for the Senior Bowl. So it would be the Jets coaching staff would have the North team, and the Giants coaching staff would have the South team, right? As long as you didn't fire your coach and have to hire a new staff, if you had continuity, you'd be able to bring your staff to Mobile, and you would coach one team and another team would coach another team. That is not how it happens anymore. Basically, if you go to Mobile, both the practices are pretty much structured the same. And that's because a lot of the structuring for the practicing is done by the Senior Bowl itself, like the people who run the Senior Bowl year round. And what they do now is they have coaching staffs comprised of a bunch of teams to get eyes on these prospects. So they'll pick a defensive coordinator or a position coach to be a head coach from one team. And then the offensive coordinator could be somebody else, another position coach. Basically, there's going to be coaches from pretty much every staff in the NFL involved in some way at the Senior Bowl. It's not the way it used to be where your entire staff gets there. I know some people are like, oh, is Bubba Ventrone getting promoted? No, they're just picking people who are willing to do it, right? I believe last year the Browns DB coach, Efren Banda, I believe I mispronounced that name. Somebody give me a proper pronunciation. Somebody give me proper pronunciation in the chat. But yeah, last year that was the defensive coordinator for one of the teams. Now the Browns have a head coach there. It's just to give opportunities to position coaches to have some experience doing stuff in certain roles that they might not be able to be seen as right now. So Bubba Ventrone gets a chance to operate a week as a head coach of a football team on an NFL style kind of practice week. And the same thing is true for the offensive coordinator of the Giants. And, you know, you get guys who are position coaches. They get a chance to coordinate for a week and be an offensive defensive coordinator. And that is how the coaching staff for the Senior Bowl works. It's really less of an opportunity for the teams of the coaches that are there and more of an opportunity for the coaches that are there. Because everybody's going to be there at practice. Everybody's going to have eyes. Everybody's going to be able to talk to the prospects and everything else. So that's how the Senior Bowl works. And this is kind of a cool thing, but not really a big deal either way. So congratulations to Bubba Ventrone being announced as the head coach for the Senior Bowl. We will see how that week goes, but keep your eyes locked into this channel if you want to know, because this is going to be the place to be for Senior Bowl content. So make sure you're locked in. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.